Welcome to Two Dudes, One Piece, where we're two dudes and we read One Piece. My name's Brandon, and with me is my co-host Davis. And to kick it off, Davis, how was this past week for you?
So, honestly, this past week's been pretty fun. I got into Lords of the Fallen with one of my friends because its 2.0 update just dropped and made the game actually good to an extent, but it added seamless co-op.
Is it actually any good?
So, I think it has potential. We're still kind of in the starting area, so I haven't played that much of it, but its unique mechanics are really unique and have a lot of potential to be cool. They just need to actually do cool stuff with it. The combat's pretty fun. It seemed like they fixed a lot of that stuff, so would recommend. At least it's a fun play with friends, at the very least.
Good to know, good to know. Well, what else you got going on? Anything fun?
Um, Not really. Just been Lords of the Fallen grinding, work grinding. Of course, I read some One Piece. That was pretty fun. How about you? You got anything going on?
I just work over here, mainly just day in, day out, wake up, work, come home, sleep, read One Piece, repeat.
Ain't that the life, brother?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. So let's jump into this volume 3. So as a quick recap, we had episode 1 and episode 2, which covered volume 1 and volume 2, and first volume we really just had meeting Luffy and meeting Zoro and getting him on the crew. They fought a marine captain. That was a pretty short-lived fight. They had Helmeppo, worst character. Still hate that guy. Got Zoro to join the crew, and that was volume 1. Very much just a intro to who our two main protagonists are. And then we had volume 2, which really got into them kind of having their first interaction with another pirate captain, Buggy, the clown, big red nose looking dude. And he has a chop fruit ability where he's able to kind of split his body into multiple parts and control each part individually, which I think is pretty interesting. I think it's pretty unique because I know Luffy's devil fruit to me feels kind of simple.
It's as much as there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. It's been seen a lot. We have of like Mr. Fantastic who came out before Luffy, and even though this came out after, we have like Elastigirl. I feel like the stretchy power is tapped into.
Yeah, it's just a stretchy power.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to see the chop fruit because I think that one was pretty unique. So they really got into just that fight in general, finding treasure. We met Nami, and we're gonna see if she joins the crew. And yeah, so let's dive right into Volume 3. And Volume 3 really starts off just right in the middle of the action. So we really start with Luffy and Buggy they're facing off. They're about to fight. It's about to go down, but it's a manga. There's got to be some monologue in there. So before they really start talking, before they start fighting, they start talking, and Buggy says that he knew Shanks. And that threw me off at least a little bit.
Oh yeah, that got me intrigued, and I really liked the part. Like a part that I found really funny was when he was like, "Oh, do you know where Shanks is?" And Buggy was like, I don't know. I just know he's out there." And Luffy's like, "What are you talking about? Are you an idiot?" That part
And he's just like, idiot. Shanks.
You must be dumb.
He was speaking in like 3-word sentences. He wasn't really saying anything. And then he just goes and throws his legs like a fucking helicopter at Luffy. He like has knives in his shoes, and he pops them out, and then he just spin kicks him across the map.
Yeah. I like how they started adding a little more diversity to the chop fruit. Even though it's still, at the end of the day, appendage with a knife, at least it's spinning. And
Yeah, they didn't do much with it other than just knife. I was hoping they would do a little more than just, here's knife. But when he throws his legs at Luffy, he actually cuts his hat. And that did not make Luffy happy whatsoever. And Buggy kind of caught on to that like immediately, and dude, he goes straight for that hat. He's just throwing at it, going down, trying to rip that thing apart.
He's fighting the boss fight, which is Luffy, and he saw a big glowing item and knew that was the weak point.
Yeah, he's like, this is what we're gonna do. So I thought that was interesting that they showed that he could like catch on to a weakness like that so quickly. He kind of shows that he's kind of a sharp fighter. He's kind of smart about at least fighting, which I guess makes sense on, he's kind of this feared pirate captain, so I would hope that he's good at it.
Yeah. Well,
But
what were your first impressions of Buggy? Like when you first saw him, what did you originally think?
I honestly, I just thought he was kind of goofy. Like I knew he was supposed to be powerful. If we're talking like before we even knew he had a devil fruit ability, he was like a little intimidating, especially because he was a clown, which is definitely the weirdest character I think we've seen so far.
Yeah.
And so he was interesting, but I don't know. I didn't really take him as much of a threat right off the bat.
Yeah, and I was the exact same way. And so seeing in this volume how they treated like his battle intellect and his ability to get on people's nerves and kind of a little more like his raw strength that people are afraid of. That was really nice to see after seeing this goof ass character that I was just introduced to.
Yeah, they showed the strength, and they showed his buggy balls last time. Like they kind of, put a lot of emphasis on the buggy balls.
He just loves showing his buggy balls to women, to children,
Just
to
loves
men.
showing
It doesn't
buggy
really
balls.
matter.
It's his favorite thing. But yeah, they showed that off, and that seemed really powerful. But I don't know, they didn't show too much with him. I mean, he stabbed Zoro and he choked a dude out. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's about it. I don't know. He got his hands.
So he
stepped
didn't
on.
do too much, but after he did the helicopter move, that's when I don't know. That's when I was like, all right, we're getting into this. He's gonna start throwing some stuff out there, and it honestly wasn't as long as I thought it would. I thought it was gonna take up most of the volume, but it really only took up, I want to say like less than half. I don't know. Do you think it's like less than half, somewhere around there?
I think it was. I would put it in as about a third, maybe a little more than a third, but it wasn't that long. Well, especially because he was another devil fruit user. I thought that would come into play a lot more and make it a lot longer of a fight than it really was.
I mean, they did give him the flashback, which was appreciated. I kind of liked that. It wasn't too long, it wasn't too drawn out, but I really liked the whole flashback sequence of him and Shanks as these pirate apprentices on this boat, and they just hate each other, but they're like kind of friends at the same time.
I really liked how Shanks was willing to put aside his differences with this pirate that he very obviously hates to like save him from drowning and to like have his own pirate way, right?
Yeah, Buggy was they very showed that Buggy was like all about the pirate life. He just wanted to kill and steal treasure and be the pirate king. And Shanks is just like, nah, I'm in this for being a pirate. Like, just point blank, I just want to be a pirate. And I really liked how they showed that, because also when they announced that they had a devil fruit and that anybody could eat it if they wanted to, it really brought out that he was like, yeah, I'm gonna pull a little swap-a-roozy. I'm gonna eat a fake fruit and steal the real one. And I think that just shows his just greed, just right off the bat. Like, the first thing he thought when he figured out that it was worth that much was, I'm gonna steal it. I'm gonna take it.
I'm gonna steal it and sell it.
When everybody else just let it be. So like, even amongst pirates, he's a greedy pirate.
Yeah. Well, I also like. I'm not sure if you noticed this, but so far we're 2 for 2 for devil fruit users accidentally eating their devil fruit.
Luffy didn't accidentally eat it, did he? I thought he
Well,
did it on purpose.
Ate it,
he just
but
didn't know
he didn't know what it was.
Yeah, he didn't know what it was.
It's true. I guess the situation's a little different, but either way, neither of them wanted the powers of the devil fruit, and both got it.
Yeah, both ended up having it. That's true. Well, because he went to put it in his mouth when he was hiding it from Shanks, and then Shanks goes to walk away, and then he comes back to say something real quick, and it scares Buggy, and he just swallows the fruit by accident. And I thought that was, I don't know, I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, all right, he totally just, it showed that he was smart, and that he's also just so stupid at the same time. Like, smart enough to figure out how to swap out the fruit, too stupid to not swallow it.
Yeah. He has smarts, not wisdom.
Yeah, no wisdom, just pure intelligence, and doesn't know how to use it, and so uses it wrong every single time.
Yeah.
And after he eats it, he falls off the boat, and Shanks saves him. Just again, kind of showing that Shanks is, willing to go out of his way to save people. Like, he's just, I don't know, he's not just in it for the pillaging. He wants to have like a moral code, which I guess is why, everyone keeps saying like, oh, Shanks, he's a good one. Like, oh, he's a good pirate.
Well, and it shows a lot more about Shanks' character, because we have seen him save Luffy before and like lose an arm for that. But also that was a kid he was kind of close to and is definitely related to, but we don't know about that yet. But Buggy was like somebody he did not like. just point blank. Like, they didn't like each other. They said they were going to fight to the death
Yeah,
next
they
time they
agreed
saw
to
each other
fight
as
to the
captains.
death.
Like, and he still went and saved Buggy just because he's that good of a person.
Which I
And
know
I think that
we
that shows Shanks a lot.
I know we don't know much about Shanks so far, but who do you think would win in a fight, Buggy or Shanks?
Pre Chop Chop or post Chop Chop?
No, post Chop Chop. Like current day, if they met up, who
Ooh.
do you think's taking the dub?
I don't know. Well, part of me wants to say Buggy because obviously he's a Devil Fruit user, and his Devil Fruit makes him resistant to stuff like blades, which is what I'm guessing Shanks would use. And Shanks is crippled without that arm. But also the fact that Shanks's pirate crew is so legendary and so renowned, like much more than even Buggy is. That makes me think that he has something up his sleeve. And not an arm, but something else up his sleeve.
He doesn't have anything up that sleeve. It's the other sleeve.
Yeah, well, what about you? Who do you think would squeak that one out?
I want to just take a wild swing and say Shanks, because we don't know enough about him for me to totally make an educated guess. But I just think Buggy, he just got some weaknesses, and I feel like Shanks would notice that and then take advantage of it immediately. I mean, even when Buggy goes and attacks Nami after he sees that she's stealing the treasure, and that's when immediately Luffy notices that his bottom half doesn't move and walks right up to him and kicks him straight in the buggy balls. Like,
and let's be honest, Luffy is not as smart as Shanks.
Dude, Luffy's got one thing on his mind, and that's meat.
Yeah.
Meat and meat alone.
So it's like...
And then even after that, I thought this was like probably, there was a lot of childish parts. Again, it's still very kid oriented, but when he grabbed his foot and started tickling it, dude, I about put down the book at that point. Like, I was like, okay, this is really how we're gonna defeat this guy, by tickling his foot.
I think
and then pinching
the fact that he can make everything but his feet fly is a really interesting drawback to the power that he has, and that they could have done a lot of cool stuff with that. But then Oda just decided to make him tickle him.
Yeah, that's kind of why I felt like it ended so short. Like, the second Luffy figured out his weakness, it was just, that was it. He got the feet.
He tickled him. Nami tied up his body parts so he couldn't get away.
That I thought was pretty genius, though.
Like, that was genius, but it was like it all happened over the course of like 2 pages.
Yeah, it was
like,
so
Luffy,
fast.
Like gum rocketed him, and then he gone.
Yeah, he like grabbed his feet, and then Nami's like in the background. Not only is she a navigator, but she's also the world's fastest knot tire, because she instantly grabs all of his parts, puts them in a bundle without him feeling it too, by the way, and then ties it so that when he goes and tries to attack Luffy again, he's like, no, my parts, they're tied.
See, that must be where the thief skill set comes in, right?
I mean, I guess.
So I do think with the way that they defeated Buggy, he could come back, and they could do more interesting stuff with him, because we didn't see him die. And he probably got hit out into the ocean and drowned, but we don't know that. Maybe he landed on a pirate ship.
That's true. He totally could have just slammed.
He comes back with his soul thing being like, I need to beat Luffy.
Yeah, the way he had a vendetta for Shanks, he could come back at Luffy. Because, yeah, we never saw his body or anything. We just know he got Gum Bazookaed somewhere. Like, he could have just slammed into a building and been fine.
He was like Team Buggy blasting off again.
Yeah. And then after that, we get the townspeople who are all pissed off about their mayor. And so they decide to go confront, whatever's going on in the city. They walk into the city, and they see that the mayor's passed out. And Luffy's dumbass is just like, yep, I did that. I'm the pirate. And then they get pissed off at him. I was like, dude, why are you just announcing it? Even Nami called him out on it. She was like, why are you just telling him? And he was like, because they're good people. What does it have to do with them being good people?
I kind of like that trait because it shows he's like, they're good people, so he doesn't want to lie to them. Be like, oh, I don't know. You're like, yeah, you guys deserve the truth. Like, I did that shit.
I mean, I guess it's true. He likes to tell the truth, but he could have just not said anything. He
could have just not said anything, yeah.
He also totally could have just told the truth and been like, oh yeah, this guy Buggy, he was a menace and we fought him off.
I think, I could be looking too deep into this, right? It could have just been Luffy being dumb, but I think part of it was he wanted the townspeople to have somebody to be mad at where they could kind of feel like they did something against them. Because they would have died if they tried to do anything against Buggy, but Luffy knew that he wouldn't hurt them, and so he's like, oh yeah, be mad at me so you can like fight me, then you guys will all come together and be fine. That's how I interpreted it, and so I thought it was pretty cool. But also, I could be like, oh yeah, the door was blue, which means the main character is depressed.
Yeah, I think that might be a little too deep for Luffy. I think he might have just been totally blank faced, like, nah, they're good people. I wouldn't lie.
Yeah.
Like that's what I take from him, especially so leading up to this next part. They get on their ships, they get out of there, and they go to an island where they find this guy trapped in a treasure chest. Like he's this little square dude. Like he's got a treasure
Somehow
chest
the most
around
square
him.
and circle man that I've ever seen in my
Yeah,
life.
he is super circular, super square. Also, a total liar about his unibrow. He said he used to have 2 eyebrows, but in his flashback, that was a lie.
That shit was still one.
Yeah, he's always had a unibrow. He's just got
He found
2
the One
feet
Piece and it's
sticking out
one
at the
eyebrow.
bottom. And he says he's got some treasure up on the mountain that he's kind of been thinking about for these 20 years. He's been stuck on this island. And so Luffy, or Nami, is the one that actually tells Luffy to go up there and get it. And he goes up there, does his gum fruit thing, flings himself in the air, and he just is like, I'm not giving it to you. I'm not doing it. And everyone's just confused, and they're like, why are you not doing it? He's like, yeah, I don't feel like it anymore. Lost all my will. And just to find out, the little chest guy got on that instantly. He was like, yeah, those chests are empty, aren't they? And, like, I think that just showed Luffy being a good guy. And just, like, he would rather make himself look like the bad guy than ruin this guy's dreams. He's like, I'd rather this guy think I'm an asshole and that I'm just not going to give him the treasure than let him know that this thing he's been dreaming about for 20 years just isn't real.
I think he's going that Naruto route where he's an extreme dumbass, but sometimes pulls out the craziest emotional intelligence known to mankind out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, damn, Luffy, I didn't know you had that in you.
I didn't know you
And
had
then
that
goes back to
dog
being
in
stupid.
you.
Yeah. Like,
Which, wrapping back real quick, we got to see Chow Chow, our goat, the #1 dog, save them from the townspeople when they were chasing them down before they left.
Chow Chow's literally him, and that's all there is to it.
Dude, he's a strong dog, all right? I want him to be part of the crew. He's got that dog in him. He is that dog.
He is that dog.
When I say I got that dog in me, I mean I got Chow Chow in me.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of the crew, I feel like we forgot to touch on this. Zoro was lying on the ground the entire time. There was a panel where they were talking about how they take the treasure to the boats, and Luffy's in the background stretching, and Zoro's just face down in the dirt, like blood coming out of his stomach.
He's just straight face down, dude. He's sniffing up that dirt.
He's getting the minerals in his bloodstream.
Yeah, I like how when they woke him up too, he's just like, "Did you do it? Well, you're not dead, so I guess you did it." So
Zoro's my goat.
The treasure chest guy, I think it was a good little chunk of world building. It gave us a little story, but overall was, I think, kind of just a little bit of a filler. No, that's a little strong because it wasn't like filler the way you would think of it, but it kind of just led to nothing and meant nothing. I think it just showed a little bit about each of the characters, and that was kind of
it showed a
the
little
point of
bit
it
about
being
each
there.
of the characters, and there was some world building when it came to the Grand Line and what it actually was and where it was, and it like introduced us to the concept of the Red Line as well. And
That's
I think that was
true.
interesting, but I think they could have gone about that in a completely different way. It felt oddly paced and oddly placed, you know.
Yeah, it was just kind of like by the time it was over, I was like, oh, that was it. But I do like they did get to explain the Grand Line and what the Grand Line is, which is probably the biggest chunk of information out of all of that. So basically the Grand Line that they keep talking about is this stretch of water that's basically in the center of the world running, east to west. Not up and down, side to side.
It's the equator.
Yeah, it's basically just the equator, where there's a stretch of ocean that doesn't hit any land. So you can just go in that straight grand line and go all the way across the world. And so now we know what the Grand Line is and where it is.
And apparently, for some reason, the Grand Line attracts super strong monsters and pirates and the One Piece, I guess. Which, I also think this is the first volume where they actually name-dropped the One Piece.
I think they named it before.
Well, because I think the only other time that they talked about it, they keep saying Jolly D. Rogers' treasure.
I think that's true, yeah. I don't know if they've actually said the One Piece yet.
Which was always... Luffy was talking to Treasure Dude and was like, oh yeah, I'm going after the One Piece.
And every time they said One Piece, it was bold black lettering.
Yeah.
Every time. They really had to emphasize this is the One Piece.
I like to imagine he said it like that too. He's like, yeah, I'm attracting the One Piece.
The One Piece. He just gets all deep and gritty with it. I'm
He
really
turns
going
into
after the
Batman.
One Piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now we get into, he's defeated Buggy, went to this random island, met Treasure Chest Boy, showed off his character a little bit, and then left again, as they do, just kind of floating around from island to island. And now that they have Nami, she could at least show them where to go, kind of, and
A
says that,
little bit.
there's a town just kind of, what'd she say, like south of us? We should head down
Yeah.
there. And I think this is where the almost more of the story starts to kick in. Like the fight against Buggy was cool, but it was a little short-lived and a little anticlimactic, I think. I was hoping for a little more, but once we get to this next island, I think they do a lot in what feels like a very short amount of time. And it almost felt like Oda was just wanting to get this fight with Buggy over so he could introduce the next thing. Like it almost felt like he just didn't want to spend that much time on Buggy.
It seemed like the only reason that he created the Buggy fight was to explain that there are other Devil Fruit users out there and to explain how they got a navigator in the map of the Grand Line. But then it seems like he's setting up this next portion because he genuinely wants to write it. And like he gave us this setup to this next arc on like a silver platter, just perfectly set up.
Yeah, because, well, before we get into the next section of the volume, I gotta ask, would you rather have the gum gum fruit or have the chop chop fruit?
Mm. So I think there's a lot of really cool things that you could do with the chop chop fruit, and you could. It's kind of like a stand where I feel like its limits are really how creative you get with it. But part of me wants to pick the gum gum fruit simply because it's the main character's ability, and it's probably going to get crazy at some point, just like out of nowhere.
You main
But I don't know.
character.
I feel like I would probably I take the chop chop fruit. There's so much more you do with it. How about you? What would you pick?
I think as of now, sitting, yeah, I think the chop chop fruit too. It seems, I mean, I know there was some weaknesses, the feet and getting your parts tied together, but I don't know, it just seems a little more overpowered. At least as of now, like he just turned into a tornado. You could just do that and just don't be stupid and leave your parts lying around. Like that's a really easy one to get over.
Yeah, instead of knives, fly guns over to people and shoot them in the face. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Why was he using knives? Why couldn't he have just used guns? He could have
or hell,
just
even
been
swords.
a tornado of bullets. I mean, I guess he risks hitting himself, but he had the buggy balls. Imagine if he had like little pistols where he could shoot buggy balls out of them that just wrecked anything. That probably would have done some
Yeah.
serious damage to Luffy.
Yeah, generally, it's like they said, oh, the only thing that can damage you is blades, but also, like, I don't know, a buggy ball tornado is bound to cut a hole in some rubber.
It's got to do something.
Otherwise, instead of Kevlar, we'd be using rubber vests.
Yeah. And so we get onto this new island and we meet our next character, our next crewmate to be, and his name is it Usopp or Usopp? I think it's Usopp.
I think it's Usopp, like kind of like udon, like the noodles.
Yeah.
And
So we
Usopp.
meet Usopp, and this dude's a chronic liar.
He's the boy who called pirate. And
Yeah,
he's got that
he's-
Pinocchio nose to back it up too.
Yeah, he got that Pinocchio-looking nose. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got his weird bandana and his hair. He's just a goofy-looking character overall. And even to the point where he runs out and he just starts screaming, "The pirates are coming! The pirates are coming!" And the guy sitting at the table eating his breakfast just goes, "Oh, Usopp's freaking out again. That must mean it's time to go to work." And he just gets up and leaves. Somebody
Built-in
else,
alarm clock.
yeah, somebody else jumps out their window and starts trying to beat him. And then,
It then gets outsmarted by him climbing up a tree for some reason.
yeah,
Like, brother, you're telling me you didn't see him run 5 feet that way and probably struggle to climb up a tree looking at him?
hey, if I can't see you, you can't see me. All right, we know
Yeah,
people don't
right.
look up.
And kids with their damn phones.
Them kids and their damn captains, bro. He was the captain of children. His crew was
Actual
like 3
5-year-olds.
9-year-olds. That was why I was like, they kept saying captain, captain. I was like, what is this guy the captain of? And then it's like 3 kids. And I was like, oh, dude, he reminds me of Sokka at the beginning of Avatar. When he's like trying to be the war tribe leader, and it's just like all these little children he's trying to lead.
Building like snowballs and stuff. No, and I think Therefore I am. I don't know. I kind of forgot where I was going with that one.
Nice, nice. That's a good one.
Thank you, thank you. I'll
So
be
my
all that.
next note was going to be leading into how Usopp tells the crew about the mansion with the sick girl. But I wrote it down and said mansion with the dick girl. So I'm going to go with that one from now on.
Rest in peace, Dick Girl.
Yeah, rest in peace, dick girl. Her name's Kaya. I couldn't decide if it was Kaya
Uh,
or Kaya, but I think it's
I
Kaya.
read it as Kaya, but I think it could be pronounced either way, really.
Well, I'm going to go with
That's
Kaya.
that's the hard part with reading is you don't really know.
Well, that's how my American brain understands it, so I'm going to go with that one.
Well, my American brain said Kaya, so
And, well, your American
yeah.
brain is wrong.
Yeah, I bet your American brain says kilometers, not
What
freedom
the
energy
fuck's a
and beers.
kilometer?
Gata!
So
Anyway,
we get to this mansion because Usopp just kind of disappears. He just fades off like that dude pulling the peace sign into the bushes.
yeah.
And it turns out he's been going to this girl Kaya's mansion and like telling her stories, like just lying to her but keeping her entertained because she's too sick to leave. She can't do anything. She's basically bedridden.
I don't think it's not even basically bedridden. Kaya just straight up is bedridden, dog. Like,
Well,
they
no,
didn't
she
say
got up.
it.
She got up to the window when Usopp was there. Cause I kind of, for some reason, when I read she was sick, I read it as she was paralyzed. And so when she was at the, when she was at the window, I was like, "Yo, I thought your legs weren't supposed to work. How are you doing that?" I thought she like Professor X crawled her way with just her hands up to the windowsill.
I don't know. Her back must be broken from carrying this damn story.
Yeah, apparently, cause she's got this butler, this shit ass butler, dude.
Shit ass fuck ass butler. I hate with the name I can't even
He
pronounce.
says he's got it. Yeah, yeah. I didn't even write down his name. I just called him the butler because I didn't even want to try to pronounce that. Well, it was
No,
like
so,
Corion or something.
hold on. I wrote down his name. It's hold up.
Holding.
It,
Still holding.
Clawhador. Clawhador. What the hell is that name, dog? Who? His parents must have hated him to name him Clawhador. He's like, his parents were like, I want my kid to be bullied. It's gonna make character.
It's gonna build some character. We're gonna make sure this kid has an awful elementary school experience. And then, yeah, so Usopp starts just going at it with this butler. All right, they're just fighting, arguing, doing their thing, going back and forth, having beef. Call it what you want, but this butler does not like Usopp, not one bit, because he's feeding Kaya lies, and that might kill her. Like, that's a little
Lies
extreme.
are allergic to the brain.
Yeah, one story about a goldfish too many, and your little heart can't handle it, Missy. You're going down with that one.
I don't know. I told Grandpa about the goldfish story once. I haven't seen him since.
Yeah, rip. And so he kicks Usopp out of the mansion with the crew because the crew, as they do, they just end up where exactly the plot wants them to be for whatever reason. They just followed Usopp. They just knew where he was, and they show up, and Usopp and this guy are fighting, gets kicked out, and this butler's just going in about how he's just like Usopp's dad. Usopp's just like his father. He's some dirty, filthy, no good grog drinking pirate. And then Usopp whips out the I lie about everything, but I don't lie about this. I'm proud of my pirate heritage. Even though his dad totally abandoned him. Like, how old was he, 2? Less.
Yeah.
I don't think he even remembers I don't even know how anybody knows his dad was a pirate. Dude apparently he just come and dump, bro. He just left.
Wasn't even there for the oven to finish.
Yeah, he just straight up got the hell out of there. And so Usopp leaves the mansion. He gets out. He's all pissed off. He goes to his little beach hideaway spot, trying to have some sad boy hours. He's listening to some Bart Simpson's lo-fi and just having a grand old time crying in the bushes. And after Luffy loses his mind, punches the butler in the face, goes to as Luffy would say, clobber him some more. Zoro stops him and is like, all right, we're not having this. So they try to find out where the beach is, and Luffy goes up to him, and they're talking. They're swapping stories. Finds out that Usopp's dad is with Shanks, wherever they may be.
Awesome callback to the pirate who just absolutely blickied one of the mountain bandits.
Yeah, I didn't even remember him being there. When I first read it, I was trying to think, like, do I even remember this guy? at all.
Which is kind of, it's funny because he's the only character with a name on his head.
Yeah.
He's got that bandana that says Yasop on it.
Yeah,
It's
dude.
like,
His
I don't
dad's name
remember
is
that guy.
Yasop.
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 He luckily we get to see where he inherited that schnoz. That absolute
Oh,
sniffer.
dude, that schnoz gets passed on. That schnoz gets passed on. And the fashion, I will say, Yasop looks a lot better than Usopp. He's got a fire bandana, and his hair is kept just nice.
Yeah, but Usopp got a haircut and a bandana that said Usopp on it. We'd be golden.
We'd be golden. Usopp knows what he's repping. He's repping himself. And so they're
Repping
talking
his
about
boy.
this, and this guy shows up to the mansion. His name is Django the Hypnotist. And he walks up to the kids, and he's like, all right, you're going to fall asleep when I say Django. Django. And then he just passes out on the floor because he hypnotized himself, too.
He did his best Zoro impression.
Yeah, he pulled a Zoro. He's like, all right, I'm asleep now. He just face in the dirt.
Nap time.
He's like, I'm gonna go take a night real quick.
Yeah.
And so
you think he'd learn to not look at his own pendulum?
yeah, or like have earplugs, or like
He's obviously not the smartest. I mean, did you see that beard? That traffic cone thing that he got on?
I mean, did you see them glasses though? Them glasses were kind of hard.
Them glasses were fire.
And so the hypnotist walks out to the beach that's sitting under the cliff that Usopp and Luffy are, and the butler, Senor Dickhead, also pulls up, and they start just talking. And
Hey, we're going
the
off
butler's
the girl,
like,
right?
"Hey, can you
Hey,
do
we're
the thing?
gonna... Hey, boss.
Hey, boss, I think we're
Hey,
gonna
boss,
do
we're gonna murder her."
Operation Kill Kaya." Dude, he just said it so
He
loud.
didn't even say kill. He said murder.
Oh yeah, he said
He
murder,
yelled
dude. He
murder.
went full intensity. Just no pause, no break. Just, all right, we're gonna murder Kaya. And then the butler's like, dude,
hey,
do
shut
not
the
be
fuck
saying
up,
that.
dude.
Yeah.
Be quiet. We're accidenting Kaya, okay?
And he's like,
Jeez.
oh yes, we're going to accident. What do you say? He's like, we're gonna accident Kaya unalive or something like that.
Well, he's like, they were talking about the fortune, how that gets distributed. He's like, and obviously you'll inherit the money after we accident Kaya.
No, he said like we're gonna accident kill Kaya. He still said the full sentence.
Oh, he did the first time, and then the second time he got rid of the kill and said only accident. So it's he has character
Yeah,
progression.
third time's the charm. I'm really liking this character arc. We're watching him slowly get the one brain cell.
Can this rival Zuko?
Can this rival Zuko? Nothing can rival Zuko's character arc. And it
Except
turns
for
out
Django.
the butler hired Django to murder Kaya because apparently he's this cool ass pirate captain named it was Captain Kuro,
Yeah.
who's been undercover living as a butler so that he can murder this girl and take all of her money and have Django hypnotize her to say that all of her money is going to go to him. And then Django pulls the one brain cell back and goes, why didn't we just raid them like pirates do? And Kuro's like, I don't run like that. I'm a pacifist, baby.
I don't want to be running from the Navy. I want to be able to use my dollars.
Although he's like still just a pirate captain, he's going to run from the Navy no matter what.
So, my biggest concern with the plan is while they were talking, and before they knew that Luffy and Usopp were listening in on this, because they were yelling about it, Django mentions, he's like, yeah, and you killed the parents so you can take the inheritance? And he was like, no, I didn't kill the parents. That wasn't part of the plan. Which makes me think, how long was he going to wait to enact the Kill Kaya plan for the parents to die of natural causes?
Well,
Was he prepared to hunker down for 30 years until those old fucks died and then killed Kaya? Like,
I was
But
thinking
then he also, like,
that
said the
he
pirates
was just
should
going
come
to
back in 3
hypnotize
years.
all three of them. I think
Yeah.
that was his original plan, was we just hypnotize all three of them and then have the parents sign off the will, and then
Maybe,
and
but
then
he
we
got
murk 'em.
he got so oddly serious when it came to that topic. It was one sentence like, I didn't do that.
That's true. He really said it
Like, with a
like
period at the end.
maybe
Like,
he just wanted to be a butler, and then after the parents died, he was like, "Yeah, I got no reason anymore. I'm taking this bitch's money."
might as fucking well. But he told his pirate crew specifically to come back in 3 years as well to enact this plan. So,
Yeah, what
This
have they
plan's
been
all over the
doing for
place.
3 years?
drinking grog and making little Usopps.
Yeah, making love to narwhals and whales.
Sirens and mermaids.
They're sirens. They're mermaids. I swear they're
They
sexy.
sung to me.
I can't resist the sound, bro. Their song sounds so good
I
that I
love when
needed
they
to
go,
fuck a narwhal.
or. Oh shit, that really gets me going.
But yeah, that's kind of where it ends off on volume 3. Is just Butler is captain now.
Yeah. Oh, and Django puts Luffy to sleep and he fucking falls
Oh,
and
yeah,
should crack his neck, but he's made of rubber. My main thing is, how did he not wake up?
yeah, that's true, dude.
Django wakes up with a little snap. He fell off a cliff.
Well, he's made of rubber, so he probably didn't even really feel it. But they were like, yeah, that guy's dead. It's like, did you hear a bone crack? I mean, for me, I'd be like, yeah, he fell on his head and nothing sounded off at all. I mean, I guess, I don't know, maybe, would you even hear a bone crack if someone fell off head first like that? I feel like you'd probably just hear their body.
Bunk.
Yeah, just hitting against the sand. That's kind of where volume 3 ends. What's your overall review of this volume?
Yeah, so overall, I liked it. I think there's still pacing issues where, Buggy fight was too short. The treasure chest arc was kind of weirdly placed and weirdly paced, like I said earlier. But on the other hand, I think he's getting pretty good at setting up what he really wants to set up before shit gets crazy. I think the Usopp village arc that we're coming into was set up very well and is going to be super cool to see. And it's I'm super invested in the characters, and I've only seen a little bit of them. I want my girl Kaya to be healthy and to live and to have a good life. I want Mr. McGerman over here, butler ass dude, to die. I want Luffy to kick his ass. I'm so excited to watch that fight. But overall, I think it's pretty solid with still pacing issues. How about you? What were you thinking?
I liked it overall. I definitely feel like this was the volume we got where it felt like I was really reading One Piece.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the first 2 volumes just felt like setup. Even the fight against Buggy was kind of like a introduction boss. And I know this is more setup. We got a comment on our last video, or on episode 1, that was saying how up until, I think he said around volume 30, Oda really has a problem with how to start and stop his arcs. And I can definitely see that. I can definitely see, when Buggy ended, it was just like, oh, it's over. Okay, that was kind of quick. And then when Usopp started, it's like, oh, we're starting. It just kind of jumped up. And so the pacing and the childishness, I think, were really going against this one.
Yep.
The whole feet tickling thing, a lot of the jokes honestly didn't land. It kind of felt like a modern Marvel movie where they were just throwing in
He's right behind
jokes
me,
left and right. Yeah, but most of them didn't really land for me. It didn't feel like they had any time for setup. A lot of the jokes were just like, do you have meat? I like meat. Does this place have meat? It's like, cool, you got meat. So I would say those all kind of weigh against it, but I like the story and I like the more world building we got. Knowing where the Grand Line is, meeting another crew member. Captain Kuro is, I think, he looks cool when they showed that one panel of him in his captain costume instead of as a butler. So I think that's going to be pretty sick. So I like where it's set up, and I like that we get to feel a little more in the middle of it and a little less at the beginning of it, which we're still very, very much at the beginning with this extraordinarily long series. But it felt like I got to jump into a story instead of starting up a story. And I think that's just because we've already gotten 2 crew members, so working on the third is kind of like, all right, we're making a little pace here. So I'd probably give it a 5 out of 10, I think. It had some good aspects about it, but it had some downsides about it too that definitely, didn't make it the most captivating volume of all. But it was kind of like highest of highs and lowest of lows type thing. So there was some really good, but there was also some really garbo too.
I think I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10 rather than a 5, but I do generally agree with a lot of those points. I think if I knew nothing about One Piece and I got into it and I picked up this 1 and 3 volumes and it ended off there, I would definitely pick up the next 3 volumes.
Yeah, I think the 1 and 3 works pretty well.
Yeah.
If you read it all in one shot, I think it's a pretty good chunk of story.
I mean, it's almost, there's 112 volumes or something, so it's almost 1% or 3% for every book there is.
Almost 3%. What a wild thing to think. 3 volumes is almost just 3%. Sweet. Well, you got any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
I do want to give a shout out to the commenter who told us that it was actually pronounced Zoro and not Zolo, and like the weird translation stuff between Japanese and English translations at the time. It feels so nice calling him Zoro because I knew that was his name and I knew it was a reference to the sword fighter Zoro, but like it was Zolo, so I felt like I had to call him that, and it just a weight feels like it's off my chest being able to call my goat by his proper name.
Yeah, and thank you everybody for all the love on episodes 1 and 2. I've been trying to dodge spoilers like Neo dodges bullets. And I don't really think I have any more closing thoughts. I think I kind of got everything out on the little review I had right there at the end.
Yeah. Definitely appreciate everybody who likes, everybody who comments with introspective thoughts. It's been really fun reading what you guys think about it and your thoughts on One Piece and that kind of stuff. And I appreciate you guys not giving us any spoilers. That's been really nice. Like Brandon said, we've been trying to avoid it like the plague. So thank you for that. We appreciate everybody who subscribed. It's really weird to see, but so cool.
Yeah, we really like interacting with everybody. I love when I got to see a new comment and get in there and reply to you guys and have a little conversation about this new experience that we get to go through for the first time, and it sounds like a lot of you guys get to kind of vicariously live through us in your love for One Piece, so really do appreciate it. But that's going to wrap up episode 3 of Two Dudes One Piece, and leave a comment on what you guys thought about this volume or this era or the cast, or just how your day's been. We just like to hear from you guys, and we'll be excited to see you next time.
We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.